10 a.m. Tuesday morning, my office phone rang. Hello, Wayne. This is John Cleese. John Cleese on my phone. Screenwriter, movie star, my favorite silly walking Monty Python. But nobody was listening. So I took a deep breath and said, Hello, John. What can I do for you? I could call him John because we'd met already on a conference call. Intel hired him to be a speaker at an upcoming event, and it was my job to coach him on the audience. He'd flagged several spots in his existing speech for me to suggest some jokes. He also asked me to write a brief, heartfelt close, which he and his own writer would redo in his style. I did that all, and when his next draft arrived for review, he kept about half my jokes as is, polished the others, and left my heartfelt close, verbatim. I later penned a 20-minute after-dinner award speech for John, and the audience laughed so hard my coworkers didn't believe I'd written it. At rehearsal, his wife said, "Oh, you're Wayne." And when it was over, John said, "I need to put you on retainer." And that's when an audible bing resounded in my head like a broken guitar string. The ping said, "What am I doing here? I went to college to be a Hollywood screenwriter myself. I wanted to have Cleese and other stars calling me daily because I was telling stories that changed people's lives. I wanted to be like him. I did not want to be here in a hotel ballroom selling shoes and trucks and microchips. My life," the ping said, "was not aligning with my dreams." It was the same pinging I got once 20 years prior, just out of college, while sitting on a forklift in a steel yard in the rain. What am I doing here? I should be telling stories, touching people's souls. That's the path I truly want to follow. But finding that path is hard. After college, I didn't go pursue my dream in Hollywood, too sunny, or New York, too scary. I stayed home in Portland, writing corporate and educational videos, sketches and one-acts for my church drama group, plus some full-lengths we performed locally, including one where I was a comic jester in a tricorn-colored jingly hat who could get away with anything. And then a national meeting company called National Meeting Company hired me to be their full-time creative and communications director. My first job, one of them, was with Adidas America at their national sales meeting in Scottsdale. Backstage at rehearsal, I was introduced as someone who knew a little something about presentation coaching to Ross McMullen, Adidas' intense, intimidating CEO. He shook my hand and then went on stage, but the producer grabbed me and said, "Wayne, we need somebody to run teleprompter." So I could only listen as Ross practiced his speech. A surprisingly sincere account of how he'd just been diagnosed with advanced colon cancer and was stepping back from full-time leadership so he could fight the disease with innovative treatments. Ross shared about a recent vacation with his wife and 2 young daughters, how he was learning to cherish every moment of life as he rebalanced his time and energy to achieve what was truly important to him, like leading this great company. I got a lump in my throat just listening, because the words were so honest and vulnerable. But they were also regrettably monotone. His passion overrode his normal speaking voice, and the result was a strident, inflexible speech that delivered less than he desired. Somebody should tell him, and that somebody was me. So when Ross stopped by the teleprompter station backstage, asked what I thought, I affirmed all the wonderful elements of the speech and then said, "There is one thing." I encouraged him to find 3 places in the script where he could change his tone or delivery style, anything he wanted. It just had to vary. That night, at the opening session, as I scrolled along with his text, Ross began with the same strident tone as in rehearsal. But then he paused, and he spoke softly. He called out, and he spoke boldly. He choked up, he laughed, he whispered. And he got a standing ovation from a sales team yearning to sell miracles, not shoes. Exiting, he stopped by backstage. Did you notice? I did what you said. I did indeed. And a new thought pinged back in my brain. I don't know anything about running a major company, but when it comes to helping people share a soulful message with others, I can do this if I have the opportunity and courage to speak up. The next time I met with Ross, he was prepping for the annual Adidas company meeting. I went to their boardroom where the CEO and his senior executives of sales, marketing, product development gathered to share the speeches for the big event. My job was just to sit quietly at the very end of a long table and take notes so our staging team could support them on site. Ross read his speech, which he'd written yesterday between chemo and radiation treatments, and then he said to his team, "Well, what do you think?" 8 heads bobbed up and down along the table. "Oh, that's good, that's good. Great work, great. That'll play." Ross looked doubtful. "You sure?" Nods again. Yep, they'll love it." Ross sat back, picked up his pages. The others looked to their own speeches, and down at the far end of the table, I raised my hand. 8 heads whipped around and stared straight at me, glared straight at me. It's a great start, but your intro talks about closing the sale, the body previews product innovations, and your conclusion veers into silo accountabilities. They don't align. What's most important to you here? The 8 heads continued to glare. While between them, far opposite of me, Ross said, "Oh, I see what you mean. I'll work on that." And he did, successfully. And this time I heard a louder ping. The higher up you go, the less others will tell you the truth. He's the emperor, naked. My actual job, my most important job from my soul, is just to be honest, gracefully. I'm the jester, truth teller to the king, if I don't get my head chopped off. So with that awareness, I spent 8 years at this national meeting company, helping executives from global companies be more successful on stage. It was great fun, doing talk shows with Hewlett-Packard, musicals with Intel, live interactive movies with Daimler trucks. Back at Adidas, the VP once introduced me to his wife saying, "This is Wayne, he's the only one that can tell our CEO what to do." For a failed screenwriter, this was heady stuff. In fact, it went to my head more than once as I challenged a few execs who still insisted on their 40-minute PowerPoint slide whoopings. I got a little cheeky a couple of times and heads turned. Somehow, I still managed to keep mine. I also, finally, wrote a screenplay, an actual 95-page script for a class I took from a genuine Hollywood screenwriter. I saved her critique. She said, "This is a rare thing. Here's a guy who can really write and write screenplay style with apparent ease, banter, lighthearted fun, zippy reading. And he spent all this time writing a screenplay about business meetings, presentations, sales, marketing. This is not a movie idea." I was bored silly even as I was admiring your mad screenwriting skills. You've got the chops. Now find a story that is worthy of them. Bing. You got no soul. Just another dazzling, naked, wannabe emperor. Fortunately, she graciously, courageously told me. So, did I quit corporate work, run off to Hollywood and write hit movies and influence millions? Or to a monastery, maybe, for a year-long silent retreat in search of a new story to tell? No. I stayed where I was. We paid off our house, my wife and I. Helped our kids through college, took some nice trips. And I continued to help leaders communicate with their audiences for the betterment of their lives, their families, their communities. It was good work for 8 years. Now I'm a struggling freelance writer again, plodding along, writing plays and some executive speeches. It's been a decade since John Cleese said he should put me on retainer. Still waiting for that, John. I really should get back to screenwriting. The storytelling thing is fun. I look forward to whatever's next with that. See if maybe I can yet get my dreams and my actual life to align. if I can ever find a worthy tale. Like maybe the last time I saw Ross McMullen. It was in Tampa after the opening session to his final Adidas sales meeting before cancer took him away from his work and his wife and his children for good. There was a garden reception afterwards. I stopped by to congratulate all the speakers, and then I grabbed a beer at the bar on my way out, and Ross joined me. He was alone. We chatted a bit before I excused myself because I didn't want to hog the CEO's time, but really, I was uncomfortable being with this powerful yet dying man. No one was waiting to speak with him, but I left, and a new ping resounds. What story could I tell today? If only I'd had the courage and grace to stay 5 minutes more with this hurting, lonely man. Any soul that's stirred must first be mine. Now I'm stirred to say, there's birth, there's death, and two mysterious crisscrossing paths between them. One path is the life of my dreams, a shiny, glorious, ever-rising way. And the other is my life as actually lived, bumpy, dead-ended, sun-dappled, surprising. I may not have yet spoken to the audience as I imagined, in the manner I expected, but I hope that the words and life I've expressed so far have brought light to those I've encountered, that I've been a faithful jester, of bumbling grace and courage, trusting that if we don't actually achieve our dreams, we can at least live a life worthy of them.